Hey guys, Gina, welcome to the place where your growth meets mine. Let's talk. There is a difference between what happens and what we experience. And that difference is so easy to miss. When we look more closely, we begin to notice that something is always happening in between. An event occurs, a sound, a word, a situation. Almost immediately, meaning forms around it. The meaning feels natural, inevitable, but meaning is not part of the event itself. It is something added, and that addition happens so quickly that it rarely feels like an addition at all. These additions are filters through which we experience the world. Mostly, they determine what we noticed, what we ignore, what we emphasize and what we dismiss. They influence not only how we interpret events, but how we feel about them before we have time to reflect. Filters are built gradually. They form through repetition, through emotional association or social reinforcement, and over time they become automatic. They don't announce themselves as interpretations. They present themselves as facts. This is why two people can witness the same moment and walk away with entirely different experiences. The event was shared, but the filters were not shared. And each person brought a different history, a different set of assumptions, a different emotional context to what occurred. And most of us live as if our filters are transparent. We assume that we are seeing clearly, that our reactions are reasonable, that our conclusions are just normal and justified. And from within the filter, this feels true. The mind rarely questions the lens through which it's looking, right? The first hint is that a filter exists often and it appears during moments of emotional intensity. A strong reaction arises, disproportionate to the situation. A comment lingers longer than expected. A small inconvenience feels unusually heavy. In these moments, the reaction is not only about what is happening now. It is amplified by what filter you decide to associate with it. These filters link present experience with past meaning. A tone of voice recalls earlier criticism, a rejection, a disagreement activates a deeply held belief about being right or wrong. The filter connects the present to a stored memory and the body responds accordingly. And when this process is unnoticed, we experience it as reality itself. We believe that we are reacting to what is happening, when in fact we are reacting to the filter that suggests what is happening. The difference between these two is subtle, but it's profound. Awareness begins when we pause long enough to notice this layering, and not to analyze it in the moment, but to sense that something additional has entered the experience. There is the event, and then there is the story forming around the event. And stories form quickly. They explain, justify, assign motive, and predict the outcome even. They help the mind feel oriented, but they also narrow perception. And once a story takes hold, alternative interpretations fade into the background. And as awareness deepens, it becomes possible to notice the tone of these stories. Some are defensive, some are judgmental, some are fearful, but some are reassuring as well. And each tone reflects the filter that generated it. The filters are shaped by early environmental, cultural narratives, and emotional conditioning. They are influenced by what was rewarded, what was punished, or what was left unspoken. And over time, they become internalized, operating without conscious direction. This is why certain situations that feel familiar even when they are new. The filter recognizes a pattern and responds before the present moment has fully unfolded. And the response feels immediate because it is based on expectation rather than observation. When we slow down and we observe the process, a small but significant shift might occur, most probably. The mind begins to differentiate between what is directly perceived and what is interfered. This differentiation creates space, and in that space, reaction softens. And softening does not mean disengagement. It means clarity. It allows experience to unfold without immediately being reduced to meaning. It gives perception a chance to breathe. At first, this practice feels unnatural, and the mind, it's accustomed to interpreting quickly. Slowing down can feel uncomfortable, even can disorientate the mind. Without immediate meaning, there is a sense of openness that can feel like uncertainty. And, the brain does not like uncertainty. So when interpretation pauses, new details emerge, sensations become clearer, emotional responses reveal their layers, and the present moment feels less, let's say, compressed. Over time, awareness of filters changes the way we relate to emotions. Instead of being carried by the emotions, we observe its movement. We notice how it rises, how it intensifies, how it fades. We see how often emotion is linked to meaning rather than circumstances. This observation does not suppress the feeling. I don't want you to think that. I want you to see it as something that clarifies the feeling. It allows the emotion to be experienced without being immediately acted upon. Because if you have that clarity, choice becomes possible. It does not automatically mean control. It means responsiveness. It means you engaging and allowing experience to inform action rather than allowing filters to dictate it automatically. And as this practice continues, something happens and becomes more and more apparent. The filters themselves begin to reveal their structure, and we start to recognize recurring themes. Seeing these beliefs clearly does not require dismantling them immediately. It requires understanding their function. Many beliefs exist to protect. They simplify, they reduce uncertainty. They help the mind feel stable. And this is where clarity begins to replace certainty. Clarity does not need to rush. It does not demand immediate answers. It is constant to observe before concluding. And in that moment of clarity, a different relationship with reality will soon start to emerge. Hey guys, it's Gina. Welcome to the place where your growth meets mine. I'll see you next time.